Hello, it's me, JGB. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. The segments for this episode are, what the heck is Making JGB anyway? And then I'll go in and tell you a little bit about personal branding and why I want to become a thought leader in personal branding. And we'll look into Gary Vee's video on documenting versus creating, because that's what pushed me to do exactly this, documenting. And then I'm going to do some digital storytelling. I'm going to tell you my story. And we're going to start at the very beginning in 1983 when I was born. And I'll walk you through my childhood years. This episode will include my childhood years. Later on, we'll go into further years. Sometimes we'll go back and forth. We'll see how we go, one episode at a time. The final segment that I have for you is be aware of what you share online. These are important things to take into consideration. Yes, I do think about these things before I upload my life online and put my personal private stories on the internet. I will also go over goals, projects, challenges that I'm working on a week-to-week basis. So every week I'm trying to kick goals. I'm tracking the process of what I'm going through. So every week we'll talk about what it was that I was doing last week, what I achieved, what projects I'm moving forward with, what challenges I'm taking on. And get it, we're going to document the process week to week. And then I'm going to go over weekly stats. So we're going to start tracking my personal brand growing. Hopefully, because that is the point of all this, is to track the process of all this coming together. And then finally, I will tell you what we're going to discuss on the next episode of Making JGB. All right, so let's just jump right into what the heck is Making JGB anyway? Wow. I'm so glad you asked. Making JGB is a weekly web series in the form of a talk show. I'm going to be tracking the week-to-week process of building a personal brand and an entrepreneurial empire. For me, that entrepreneurial empire is going to be my passion project. It's called Make Yourself. I've been going crazy over this vision for a long time now, and I've just got to get started, and we're going to document the process of that coming together. So essentially, Making JGB is the making of Make Yourself. It's documenting the making of the making of. It's pretty meta. If you're familiar with the podcast Startup by Gimlet, what they do is they document the process of creating a startup. Think of this as a visual version of startup, only instead of tracking startup coming together, we're tracking personal brands launching their careers and their businesses online. So Making JGB episodes are filmed live on Sunday before a live audience, as you can see. And every Sunday, that's going to be at 9 p.m. Thailand time. I am in Thailand, for those of you who don't know. And that's about 9 a.m. Toronto time. We're doing Toronto, Thailand, because those are the two parts of the world that are active for me right now. Maybe when we grow, it'll change. But for now, we're doing TO Thai time. Sign up, subscribe, so that you get all your notifications, because I know how much you love having notifications. When it matters, it's worth it. So please do sign up if you see this and you think, you know what? I like what this girl's doing. I'm going to follow along. In this segment on personal branding and documenting versus creating, I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm so interested in becoming a personal branding thought leader. Well, honestly, I am super passionate about promoting people over businesses. This is something that has always come super naturally to me. Personal brands are individuals. Every individual is a super unique brand in their own right, and they are great for marketing through social media. Social media marketing and personal brands, they go hand in hand, and that's something that I know a lot about, and hence why it comes pretty naturally to me. I also love that personal brands are built on authenticity. Oh my God, you're gonna learn so much about me, and my brand is totally authenticity, and that's something that I really love about personal branding. Not to mention digital storytelling. You need to be telling digital stories if you're gonna be launching your personal brand. And that's something I'm really interested in, and there's a lot to figure out there, and there's lots of things I want to discuss when it comes to all these things. So the other thing that I love, probably the thing that I love the most about personal branding, is that it allows people to market themselves, make themselves, to market themselves in a way that they can apply themselves to their skills and their passions and things that they're really good at, and they can make a living out of that. And if you can make a living working for yourself, doing what you love and what you're good at, then you can actually like design your own lifestyle and do your own thing. And I think that's the coolest thing you could possibly do. And obviously this is something that I'm attempting to do in my own right, and it's kind of working. Right now, it's working. So I want to try and help other people do this too. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think we can do this. So how do you build a personal brand? Well, you've got to put yourself out there. Hence why I'm sitting here right now, sweating, nervous, not feeling like this is something I'm ready to do. It doesn't matter. You need to put yourself out there, and you need to showcase, and I'm going to say on camera. I think on camera is a really important part of all this. You have to showcase your true values, and you have to tell your story, and you need to relate to your audience. Your brand has to speak something, and your audience needs to want to see that something or to feed into that something. So you got to be authentic, and you got to be honest, and you got to have a story to tell. And you have to have a purpose, whether it's to educate or to inspire people. If you want to put yourself out there as a personal brand, you got to be doing all those things, but you also have to be constantly doing those things. You have to essentially become a content making machine. And I need you to know right here, right now, this is not an easy thing to do. It's not. There's no way around it. It's a lot of work. But it's a great means to an end. It's worth it if this is what you really want to do. So I'm going to jump into the topic of Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody whose book I read in 2009. It's called Crush It, and it's teaching people how to launch their personal brands online, how to make a living out of it. When I read this, it just spoke to me in a way that I was like, dude, this guy's saying everything that I'm thinking. I was already thinking in that way. We were in this early age of social media and people putting their lives online and like having this online space where you can truly be you and like tell people all about yourself and what you do and what you're good at, and like it just had me thinking all these things. And then I read his book and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Personal branding is super cool. So Gary V, from the very beginning, he totally opened Pandora's box for me, and ever since I've been following, but I have to be honest, Gary is super effective and also very repetitive. So if you follow Gary Vee on a day-to-day basis, you will see that a lot of his stuff is going over the same sort of things. And you know what? Drive it home. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just kind of tuned out for a while, kind of stopped paying attention. And recently I tuned in and just had a look through his social profiles and found this video and was like, again, Gary Vee, 10 years later, is speaking to me directly, like directly to me. And this video was called Document, Don't Create. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this now because Making JGB Live is totally inspired by this. He talks about creating pillar content. So you create one piece of content that you turn into multiple pieces of content. So through this personal branding talk show that I'm currently recording, I am breaking stuff down into segments, and I'm creating multiple pieces of content which I can then schedule and push out to multiple different platforms in different ways. And hopefully, you know, in an effort to create lots of content, I'm using this one piece. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But Gary Vee is the one who inspired this, and that's why we're all sitting here together right now. Document, don't create. I just shared this on my Instagram because it speaks to exactly why I'm sitting here feeling really overwhelmed on live telling you all about this. Gary says, people are not starting. They're just not making. They're thinking, they're pondering, they're strategizing, they're debating. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Gary, I have been doing that for years. I have about 20 notebooks from the past 10 years filled with ideas of all the videos that I'm going to make and how I'm going to turn Making JGB into Make Yourself, and how Make Yourself is going to be a talent agency, and how I'm going to do this. And I've got this big picture, man. It's like this huge picture, and it's overwhelming as all hell. And I don't know where to start or what to do. All I have is all this notebook stuff, and I've spent so much time just thinking and strategizing and pondering, and I'm here right now for this exact reason, because I know that I just need to start. I gotta start somewhere. It has to start somewhere. So in this video, I'll allow you to watch that, but in this video, Gary says quite a few things, and I'm just gonna call attention to a few of those things now. People who start pumping out content care way too much about the camera and lighting. Yes, okay? So in my experience of starting to create, you know, I'm like, okay, I've got these videos, I've got all these ideas, they're in my book, and I'm just gonna start making these videos. So I'm scripting and I'm rehearsing, and I've got to find, you know, the right studio setup, and I need a backdrop, and I need the lighting to be like this and that, and I'm rehearsing, and it's painful, guys. It's not fun. I'm not enjoying it. It's not like, this is what I want to do for a living. This is great. It's painful. It sucks. And the worst part is, I'm not even happy with the result. Like, I'm not okay with any of this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there has to be a better way to do this, because it's just not going to happen if I have to do this. So, Gary goes on to say, you need to be thinking more about documenting than thinking about creating. I'm going, oh my God, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because all this stuff that I'm creating, like, this is taking forever, and it doesn't feel right, and I need this to feel right. I need this to be real and authentic. Okay, so then he says, you should start a pillar show. Oh, okay, I like this idea. And I've thought about this before, you know, documenting the process of something. So he goes on to say, you need to create 10 to 25 pieces of content a day. Whew, we can talk about that number in a different forum, but I think at the end of the day, what he's trying to say is, don't get fancy. You can create tons of stuff as long as you document as you go along. You've got to get creative. You've got to come up with ideas. You can interview people. You can do all sorts of stuff. Just document yourself doing it as you go along. Don't worry about the production value or any of that. I want to add in right now that I don't really believe that this stuff is possible to be done on your own. I've made this mistake my whole life. Doing shit on my own is hard, and there are ways, affordable ways, for you to get help with this sort of stuff, and that's something that I'm learning to do now. And also, with my remote job that I have right now, there's some new opportunities coming up that have a lot to do with facilitating the process of content creation. And through Make Yourself, this project that I'm building, that is one of the main points, is to help content creators by facilitating the process of content creation. Because let's be honest, creating this stuff and then pushing it out and creating thumbnails and writing SEO scripts and like all this stuff, it takes forever. It's hard work. So we'll talk about this more later, but it is possible to get affordable help. VAs are a dream these days. You can help support their careers. They can help support you. There's a difference between understanding who you are versus who you wish you were. And if you want to be really respected and known, then you need to show the fuck up. And that is why I'm here. Because of this big vision, this big picture, I know that I'm here. This is me here. I know where I want to be way up here, and I need to start connecting the dots to get to there. And the only way that you can do that is by showing up. So here I am. It's much smarter to talk to the world about your process of going through things than talking to them about the advice that you think that you should give them. Mind blown. Yes, totally. When you're writing out all this stuff, you're just like, oh yeah, this is what people need to know. People definitely need to know all about this. You know what? Just do it. Just do it and document yourself going through the process of doing it, because that, in the end, will help them more than you trying to tell them what to do. I don't know about you, but when people try and tell me what to do, I take that advice a lot less than watching somebody do it and doing it my own way, right? If you're passionate about something in your world, you can make a big difference. Oh, that's nice to hear. I'm totally passionate about this and I really want to make a big difference. So you got to start pumping out content. I knew that. I just don't know how. Well, you can build a $1 billion empire on good, he says. That's a big empire. That's a big goal. I'm not really shooting for a $1 billion empire. I will take it. But what matters to me in that is that it can be done on good. The whole reason I'm doing this is because I want to help people to do it too. I think we can all put ourselves out there and make a living out of our passions and work for ourselves and help others. I think that's possible. Gary thinks it's possible. He even thinks I can make billions out of it. Let's see what we can do, shall we? The only way for us to do this is to just get started. So here we are, starting, even though we have no idea what we're doing. So this is it. This is the beginning. I'm totally convinced that what Gary's saying here is absolutely accurate. So I'm documenting it and I'm putting it to the test. And every week we're going to walk through this process. I'll put myself out there for you so that we can figure this out together. And the most important part of the process here, guys, is I need feedback. I need to know what you think is working and what's not working. I really want to work on this as like a collaborative project, because I'm sure you have opinions and ideas. I know you have opinions and ideas. And I'm going to build a thick skin and I'm going to roll with everything that you have to say. I will take everything into consideration. So please, please share along the way. Put it in the Facebook comments when I upload videos. Share it in the YouTube comments. Whatever you got to say, I'm totally open to it. As long as you're polite and nice about it, please. If you could put out a body of work 40 years from now that showed the process of someone who had a vision and put in the work, did it the right way, tried to help people along the way, and then actually accomplished it, how amazing would that be? Well, that's what I'm trying to do. That is actually the ultimate premise for this project, Make Yourself. I want people to tell their stories and set out their visions and set out clear goals and then document the process of themselves working through this as a means to an end. And while doing this, you'll be teaching people how to do it too. And the whole thing is just so cool. And that's why I'm here doing this, guys. That's the end of that segment. Oh my God! Okay, guys, I gotta give you a heads up on this. This is me telling my story. This is my life. I'm gonna tell you all about my life. I'm gonna tell you about the ups and the downs. I'm gonna be super real with you because you know what? That is really important to me. I think it's really important to put yourself out there and to be super honest, because everything that I've been through, I know that other people have been through too. I know they have. And I know that people relate, and I know that that's how you connect, and I know that everything that I'm putting out there, I'm doing in a really calculated way, and I'm being super careful about what I'm putting out there. So please know that I am being very conscious about what I'm putting out there. And yes, a lot of this stuff is private life that I'm putting in a public space, and you will know that this is something that I will talk about for many years to come in my personal branding thought leader career, I will talk about private lives and public spaces a lot. What I am doing right now is I am putting myself out there and I'm encouraging people to do it too. I'm telling people, hey, tell your story, put yourself out there, let the world know who you are. And in saying that, I realize how much I'm asking, and I realize how much you could possibly put out there, and I realize that there are consequences to this, okay? I get it, and we're going to talk about this more after this segment, okay? So I'm just going to get right in there and tell you a little story about me, JGB. And the story starts in 1983. Jessica Genevieve Brown is born on December 27th of 1983 to two proud parents in Edmonton, Alberta, where my dad is working on a construction project, so there's no real reason why I was born in Edmonton. I know nothing about Edmonton. I don't even think I spent more than a few months there in my whole life. The only thing I know about Edmonton is that there's a really cool mall there. It has a submarine and water slides and lots of other stuff. So I'm born in Edmonton. My parents are 24 and 25 years old, which is so crazy. I know a lot of you have probably been in this situation where you're like, well, I'm 35. Actually, I'm 34 right now. I'm turning 35. And the thought of having children 10 years ago, crazy. So my parents are 24 and 25. My dad is French-Canadian. He's from Quebec. Il parle en français. And my mom is an army brat who lived kind of all over the place, but was originally from Petitcodiac, New Brunswick. So French dad, English mom makes me a super lucky bilingual Canadian chick. I never really had to learn two languages. I acquired, through language acquisition, which is a really interesting topic, I acquired both languages. Je parle en français, je parle en anglais, j'ai les deux langues. Je vais comprendre le français pendant toute ma vie. And I think that's so cool, and I implore anyone who has children to please teach your children any language that you possibly can. It's such a beautiful gift. Moving on. So let's jump forward to 1986, where we live in Barbados, out in the sun and the sand. I'm so convinced that this is when I fell in love with tropical weather and being by the ocean, because I am obsessed with that now, and I'm sure it's because of Barbados. My little brother Jordan is born there. He's a little smush in this picture here. He's a Bayesian. How cool is that? That's what they're called, by the way. They're not called barbarians, although I did call my brother a barbarian most of the time growing up. He was born in Barbados, so he's half Canadian, half Bayesian. And we lived out there for, I don't even know how long. We're living there because my dad was working in construction and he built the one road that goes around Barbados. And I'm told to this day, it's still the one road that goes around there. I've got to go back and visit. But I haven't yet, but I will. All right, flash forward, 1988. Please tell me you're looking at these pictures right now. So here are the pictures. This is me in my Richard Simmons years. My mom likes to give me perms. Mom, why? Why the perms? I digress. So 1988, we live in the suburbs of Montreal. My parents separate. This is a tough time. My dad has custody, and we don't see my mom anymore. I really don't remember any of this. I'm like 3 years old. I'm super young. It's a tough thing to go through at a young age. And I can't even imagine for a kid who's 3 years old, who spent every single waking moment with her mom, to all of a sudden, mom's not there anymore. That must be so hard. That must have been really hard. I mean, for my dad too, to go through that and to have to take care of a 3-year-old child who wants nothing more than to be around her mom. Tough stuff, guys. 1988, not a great year. But you know what? Very soon after that, my dad falls in love and remarries. And I have a new mom. She's mom with a U. Mom, and then I have Mommy Cheryl, my mom. My mom is a Jewish American, and we move with my mom. Our whole family moves to Boston, where I have a pretty amazing all-American upbringing. Seriously. I was a super busy, active kid, pretty dorky. I know you're looking at those pictures. So these years, like, they're great. I'm super busy. I'm an active kid. We are always involved in things. I have tons of friends. I'm full of personality. I love performing and singing, and I participate in all the school plays. I'm like the star soccer player. I know that's saying a lot, but I was a pretty good soccer player. I actually later got a soccer scholarship in the school. This was pretty good. I was a defenseman, and I played goalie, which I hated, but I also did not want to let anyone else in the goal because I made sure that, you got to pull through. So I was a goalie and back D. I played soccer a lot throughout the years. I also played on the basketball team. I was that clutch free throw thrower because under pressure, I perform. And hey, this is a theme that recurs throughout the years. I perform really well under pressure. And I think you might be witnessing that exactly right now because how I'm feeling on the inside is being channeled into something else. This is why I decided to do these lives, because I know that when the pressure is on, I show up. It's also why I went into PR. I am definitely somebody who shows up when I'm under pressure. And that's why I was so good at sports, because anytime I was depended on, I showed up. I was also the only girl on the baseball team, and I was the pitcher, and I was striking all the boys out. That's right. So in these two pictures, you will see that I'm very ladylike throughout my childhood. I just love wearing dresses. And I'm actually just being super sarcastic right now because in these pictures you can see that I'm not ladylike at all. And I hate wearing dresses. Oh my god, I hated them so much. I'm forcing a smile in this picture because I'm trying to be a good girl, but oh my god, I just couldn't stand wearing these dresses. So actually, I am a huge tomboy, obviously. I love being awkward and goofy. I contort my face whenever I possibly can. I love being the jokester and getting a rise out of people, and I'm like super theatrical, and I was just really out there. Tons of personality. And I look back at all my old pictures, I was like, wow, I really had a lot of personality. I was super outgoing. And I'm sure that that's not shocking to you if you're sitting here watching me now, but there's a time where that disappears, and hopefully it'll be coming back through these outlets that I'm creating for myself. All right, so now I've got this procession of my adorable school year pictures. Oh my god, so cute, right? I don't know what else to call those. I don't think any of us love our pictures of ourselves growing up as kids, so it is what it is. 91 through 95 I have here. Look, the story that I want to tell here is that I have this amazing fortune of being raised by this extremely well-educated and super successful family. Like, I'm so lucky to have this appear in my life. When I'm living in Boston, my grandma and my grandpa are like a huge part of my life. We spend a lot of time with them. They introduce us to temple and seders, and we have Passover and Hanukkah. And we're two Canadian kids who've never really been introduced to religion, and yet my grandparents make it possible for us to go to JCC camps every summer, and we're totally honorary Jewish kids. My grandpa was a retired attorney when I knew him, and I know he was in the war, and I was a kid when I used to hear all these stories, so I pictured him being this war hero who worked with doctors. To this day, I'm not really sure what it is that he does or did in the war, but he was still a very accomplished man. Now, my relationship with my grandmother was really special. I have pictures of me and my grandma and my grandpa here, and I really looked up to my grandma. She was a super strong woman, very strong personality, and even as a kid, I understood that not everyone jived with how strong my grandma's personality was. But I'll never forget the way she used to like wink at me, and she did this smacking with her teeth, and I just loved the attention that she gave me, and she was a super special woman. So as I was writing the content for this episode, I came across this blurb about her accomplishments on an obituary webpage. And now keep this in mind, this is a woman who was born in 1913, okay? These accomplishments are not standard for women at this time. Growing up at the time that she grew up, you're just, this isn't what women do. And I'm so baffled. Check this out, okay? So the blurb says, she held degrees in physics from Smith and Radcliffe colleges. She had a law degree and a doctorate in math education from Boston University. Joan later earned a pilot's license, and as though that wasn't enough, she studied computer science, electrical engineering, public administration, several foreign languages, creative writing, and she was active in Brookline politics. Crazy. This is so crazy to me that my grandmother accomplished all this stuff. What an incredible woman, right? So I'm in this incredible family, so well educated. Success is obviously such a big theme here, but I'm a little kid. I'm like 5, 6, 7 years old. It's not until later on in my life, like now, that I'm looking back and realizing, wow, that must have had such an incredible imprint on my life. And totally, of course it did. My uncle on my grandma's side, so her brother, you won't even believe me when I tell you this, Robert H. Rines is insanely accomplished. He's an American lawyer, an inventor, a musician, and a composer. Okay, keep reading, right? During World War II, Rines served as an Army Signal Corps officer and helped develop the microwave early warning system. You know what that means? That means radar. That means he helped to invent radar. He was a renowned intellectual property lawyer, and he was inducted in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. If you look at this picture of my grandma and my brother and me and my grandpa, that's when we were in Akron, Ohio together, while my uncle was inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame for inventing radar. Okay, can the story get weirder? Yes, it can! With this radar that he's invented, my uncle takes pictures of the Loch Ness Monster. That is right. Those pictures of the Loch Ness Monster that you've seen before, my great uncle took those. Crazy. I also want to add this little snippet that I learned through Wikipedia. At age 11, he played a violin duet with Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein at summer camp. Like, what kind of summer camp is this? Crazy. And on top of that, he wrote music. He was a composer for Broadway and off-Broadway shows, and he won an Emmy. He has an Emmy. It's just mind-boggling to me that somebody could have such crazy, cool, amazing achievements. And the only reason I'm telling you all this stuff is because I can't even imagine what this must look like to a kid, right? Like, I'm growing up in this environment. These are such incredible examples of success, you know? I learned from a young age, obviously, that the way towards success is to work hard and to get educated and to not let anyone or anything stand in the way of your success. My grandma is like this perfect example of, well, you're not supposed to do that. That's not the way things work. Well, darn that to heck, because I'm gonna do it anyway. And then there's my uncle's example that's like, people don't believe in him. Nobody believes in him. It's the Loch Ness Monster. Nobody believes in him. But does that stop him? No. And now, all these years later, I see myself and I realize, wow, that totally had a huge impact on me. I have never stopped chasing success. I have never taken no for an answer. I have never stopped believing that I can do whatever I set my mind to. Anything I set my mind to. If there's something standing in my way, I get educated, I am resourceful, and I figure that shit out. And I move forward. There are always going to be obstacles. And you know what? Sometimes you might have to work really hard, and it might take a few years, and it might take a lot of effort, but there is a way around everything. And if you want something badly enough, you can figure it out. So, this childhood story coming together, I'm telling you all this because I'm so grateful. Like, looking back, wow, like I'm so lucky. I was this busy, active, super happy kid. And I was truly set up for like a really promising future, and I'm so grateful for that. I know that it shaped who I am today, and I would not be sitting here in Thailand living this incredible lifestyle that I have designed. I'm shooting for the stars. This project is like so grandiose and huge, and there's not a single day that I don't wake up thinking, how am I gonna do this? I'm so grateful for this childhood. It was provided to me by my mom and dad, and thank you, mom and dad. Like, it means so, so much to me that I was able to have this. So, my grandma's actually responsible for my obsession with the internet. I'm obsessed with the internet. I love social media, I love the internet, I love technology, and this goes back to my grandmother bringing me to the library. I swear to God, I have this memory of her introducing me to the catalog, like, index file system at the library. It was this big cabinet, and you would go and you could look up anything you wanted. Anything! You could look up anything, and I could find the card, and the card would give me a code, and I could go on a mission to find the code and get a book that would teach me all about that. Like, how crazy is that? Just as a kid, I just remember being like, what? This is amazing. And so, on top of that, my grandma's also the one who introduced me to my first computer, because she was one of the first people to have one of those honking, like, huge desktop machines. And I remember learning DOS codes on that, and I remember playing with, like, the first versions of chat and, like, first versions of internet search. Oh my God, I thought it was so cool. I thought it was so cool that this box like contained all the answers to everything, and all you had to do was know how to program it, or, you know, like, find things. So my grandma's totally behind all this. To this day, I'm totally technologically minded, and I'm shaping a career in tech and social media, and it's totally thanks to you, Grandma. Thanks, Grandma! Her grandma passes away in 1997. I think I'm 13 in 97, but I really don't remember this happening. I have very few memories of when it happened or how it happened, and that's because I packed it away. I totally packed away that part of my life, and I think this started happening, well, I know that this started happening in about 94. In 1994, something happens where I start repressing things. Things get scary, things happen, and I develop this new habit of putting things away. So bear with me, we'll get to that. In 1996, we moved back to Montreal. So I've been spending all this time in Boston. I have this great childhood. It's, I think, 6 years living the all-American dream. And then 96, I don't know how old I am, 13, entering high school. Tough times. Well, it's tough. Not only is it tough, I'm now going to high school for the first time, and I'm going to a French school, and I haven't spoken French in like years, right? I spoke to my dad in French, but not like everyday language French. So I go to this huge public school, École Secondaire Jacques Rousseau. And I have zero memories of this time. I don't remember what the school looked like. I don't remember any of my teachers. I don't remember any of my friends. I was bullied really bad at this time in my life. And I was bullied because I was a tête carrée English kid. And for some reason, you know, that's a good reason to bully kids, because they're different from you. So I had a really tough year. I really don't remember that much. I have these terrible, awful memories. I remember this one group of kids cornering me, and they all horked and spat in my face and intimidated me. I have that memory. It's awful. And I hate, the only reason I'm sharing this is because I wonder if this is something other people had happening at high school too. I remember the principal used to come over the PA system and hold moments of silence for the kids that had passed away or taken their own lives. And I just remember feeling so dark and scared and like, what the fuck is life? Like at this point, it's 96, I'm like 12, 13 years old, and like life is awful. Life is scary. And it's just, it's tough, right? There's a part of the story that I'm skipping here. And this is the hard part. So the stuff that I was repressing, I started repressing it because something happened to me. I've now tracked back through clues that it probably happened around 94 when I was about 10 or 11. And I experienced some trauma that no one noticed or knew about. It was a deep, dark secret. And I carried that deep, dark secret for my whole life pretty much, and I wouldn't dare tell anyone about it because I felt such shame and guilt over it, and I really wish that I would have told someone because it happened multiple times over the years, and maybe if I told somebody I could have stopped it, and maybe it was happening to other people too, and maybe if I told someone I could have stopped it from happening to them too, but I didn't know how to deal with it. So I pushed it away, and I repressed it, and I carried that deep, dark secret for a really, really long time. And it changed me forever. Forever. So that explains why in 96, I'm in this new environment, I'm in school, and I'm not feeling myself, I'm not feeling good. Something has shifted in me. I'm not bubbly or outgoing anymore. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I actually felt like really uncomfortable in my own skin. I became really conflicted with my identity. I felt super numb, and I really reverted inwards. You know, I was this super outgoing, confident kid, and then I couldn't deal with it. So my behavior all of a sudden started causing issues at home. You know, I was being bullied, I was unhappy, I was miserable, and my parents just could not understand this. And bear with me, so there's a reason why I'm sharing all this stuff with you. There is a means to an end here. You know, it's pretty clear that at this point in my life, I'm a super miserable and unhappy kid. And on top of that, I'm like going through puberty at the same time. So I feel trapped. I don't have friends. I start acting out, you know, and things at home get really tough. And I don't feel like I belong in my family. I mean, my mom and my dad and my brother all get along really well, and I was always the odd one out. I was different, and I was difficult, and I was the root of all problems. And it was really tough for all of us. And so one day, and all of a sudden, I screamed out, I want to go live with my mom. And that's what happened. In that moment, right there, my life changed forever. You know, at this point, I feel like my parents probably felt like this was what was right for me. I mean, my whole life I wanted to be with my mom. My whole life I was told that I was exactly my mother. And, you know, that just made me want to be with her so badly. And I can't even imagine how hard that must have been for my parents, you know, who were providing me with this beautiful fucking childhood and, you know, doing their best to have this daughter who just wants to be somewhere else. So I sympathize there, and I realize that must have been really hard. But in this one moment, you know, I scream out that I want to go live with my mom, and then poof, just like that, I'm told to pack my bags, and within 48 hours, I show up on my mom's doorstep. Just like that. I'm going to end the storytelling there. I think that's about enough for one day. But that's childhood. That's childhood in my preteen years. And we can talk about my high school years when everything gets turned upside down and I go live with my mom, who's like a total free spirit, and things change. I'll tell you about that in the next episode. Be aware of what you share online. So, some of you are probably wondering, why in the world would I dare air my personal and private experiences on the internet, recording them? I'm not just talking about it, I'm recording it and making it available online for anyone to see. And not only for anyone to see, but it's there forever. I can't take this back. So you're absolutely right to question why I would do something like this. And it's certainly not something that I recommend anyone should do without considering what the consequences might be. I'm somebody who wants to teach people how to upload their lives online and tell their stories, so it's very important that I use this segment to point out that there are ways of doing this. It's very important that you consider these certain things, okay? I think when you are putting your private life in a public space, you absolutely have to provide context, and it has to have meaning, and it needs to have a purpose, okay? A means to an end. Do not just blurt out things about yourself or your life. Don't talk on end, don't go on tangents, don't like free flow this stuff into the internet. You all have seen examples of this so many times, I'm sure you have, where people just blurt out anything and everything under the sun. That's not how you do it. You have to be super, super careful. You have to carefully calculate and craft what it is that you're putting online. When you're telling a story, you really got to consider all this stuff. Present your facts properly, right? So I want you to keep in mind as well, you can only speak from your own perspective. You can only tell your story from your side. There will always be other people involved in the story. And that's another really important part when you're documenting your life and you're telling your story. There's going to be other people involved, and those people might not want to have their stories told online. They might not want to air their private lives in public spaces. Go figure, right? So careful attention is required here. I have to be honest, the reason why I've been sitting on this project and not doing this for so long is because I was afraid of what other people might think. I was afraid that the other people involved in my story would be really upset with me. I was afraid that they wouldn't understand why I was doing this, and they wouldn't support my deep desire to put myself out there and to do exactly what I'm doing, to tell my story and to share and connect with the world. I've waited a very long time to be able to do this, and I'm doing it now because I've realized that I've got to do what's right for me. I have learned the hard way that, honestly, I've lived for other people. That's just not the way to go. So, I'm doing this for me, but at the same time, I totally respect everybody whom I come into contact with and who are a part of these stories, and I think it's really important to be very careful how you tell your story. I think there's another point here that's really important, and that is that you cannot control what's going to happen when you put stuff out there. You have no way of controlling that, and I think a lot of people forget that. You know, they think, well, I'm being very careful about what I'm saying and this and that. It can be misconstrued so easily. And I think when you're doing this stuff, if you're being a personal brand and you're putting yourself online, I think what you really need to do is become your own PR person. Like, consider all the things, all the consequences that could possibly come into play if you do this. Just make it a habit of thinking of that stuff before you air anything online, okay? It's really imperative that you think this stuff through. So for me, I'm documenting Making JGB, and I'm being super careful about everything that I say, and I'm trying to be super respectful of everybody all along the way, but I'm doing this because I genuinely, truly feel like this is my calling. This is who I am. I am an open book. I am somebody who has spent most of my life on my own, and I have just such a deep, strong desire to put myself out there and to connect with anybody who's been through similar things that I have or who are on the same journey. And having been through tons of media training and having worked with people who have online lives, I feel prepared and I feel like I'm made for this. So I am doing this. And that, my friends, is why I'm telling the story of Making JGB. And I thank you for watching and for tuning in. Okay, in this segment, I want to talk to you about goals, projects, and challenges. Listen, in this segment, normally I'm going to walk through, what I was working on last week and what projects I have ahead. But you know what? This week, I worked on Making JGB Live, and I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of what I have accomplished. So I'm going to give myself a ding, accomplished, goal accomplished. It's been a huge feat putting this together. I will tell you though, since not all of you know me, I am currently living in Thailand. I have a remote job. I work for a company called Lead Cookie. We do LinkedIn lead generation, and I work about 5 to 10 hours per week in the evenings. And I'm also working with two great gals who are in Melbourne, Australia. They're called Savvy Entrepreneurs Online, and I'm working with them as a social media manager. And I'm doing social media lead generation, which is new for me. So those are the things I do on a day-to-day basis. Those are ever-present things. And then on top of that, I work on my own projects. So I'm out here living in Thailand with the sole purpose of chasing this dream. And of course I have to make a living, money on the bank, which is much easier to do out here in Thailand. So I'm able to actually achieve goals and work on projects like this one and feel accomplished and feel like I'm moving forward. So goals, projects, challenges for this week, I'm just gonna say, hell yeah, I accomplished this first live and I feel pretty good about it. Boom! Let's look into our weekly stats. I have 1 subscriber on YouTube. This is amazing because we're documenting the process, right? So in the next however much time, we're gonna watch this number grow. Can you please help me? This is really sad. Making JGB YouTube channel. We gotta get this channel hopping. Make it happen, please. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Word of mouth, it's great. It's really helpful. I will totally link you up, and I will be sharing this stuff till the cows come home. Please click, show some love, and then you can watch the process, because one day there's going to be thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Who knows? We shall see. On Twitter, I've had this account for a long time, and I've been working in social media, so I've got 1,200 followers, which is pretty cool, but I want to see that number grow. Twitter is where I talk about my day-to-day, I'll let you know where I'm at and what I'm doing. It's chit-chat, I guess, a little visual aid to show you where I'm working from and all that. And then on Instagram, it's more visually pretty, I like to share some of my photography on there, but I also like to do some selfies and all that. But one thing you must know is that all my social channels have totally different content, because that's how you do it, guys. On Instagram, I have 870 followers right now. I also have access to a tool that pumps up your followers and your likes, and you know what? I'm not using it on my personal accounts. Why? Because I want to prove to you that this can be done organically through creating content and becoming a personal branding machine. So 870, This is all organic, baby. Let's get that number up. I also do IGTV stuff on there. I sort of document my day-to-day. If you want to check in and follow the story that way, please do. And then, of course, this Facebook page, this one right here, please like it. Show me some love. Thank you. In other episodes, I'm going to track some other stats. This week, no, that's about enough. On the next episode of Making JGB, I'm going to talk to you about my story, and we're going to talk about the teenage years. There's some good stuff in there. This is where I really get pumped up on being a career person, and I start to build the plan. That's right, in high school. In high school, I'm already gung-ho. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm killing it and figuring things out. It's super vague, so you're gonna have to tune in next week to see what I mean by that. I'm also gonna do some segments on, I'm still kind of torn about it, guys, to be honest. So you know what? You're gonna have to tune in to my social channels. My social channels, I will show you everything you need to know, because I'm going to be pumping out content this week. I just made my first pillar program. I can't believe I just did this. I feel really good about it. This whole thing has been putting myself out there, and I felt really awful about it. And I honestly, when I did the practice run, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. This is awful. I hate this. But this went really well. I'm actually really proud of myself. And I'm so grateful that you're here with me. You know who you are. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're the best. I can't wait to see where all this goes. That's it from me. I'm JGB. Until next week.